started our biographies, and yesterday I met with several of you about your notes that you did, and I have Isaiah's, Wyatt's, and Heather's here to go over yet that y'all are ready. So some of you haven't finished them, and that's okay, but there's many of you that have already finished them, so I want to get us started on the next part. And we're going to take our biographies a little bit slower than we've taken some of our other writing. So today we're just writing the first paragraph. That's it. Just the first paragraph after you finish this. So you've already researched the person you're writing about, and you're working on your research. So now you already know enough about that person, you can write what we call the introduction. So that's what we're going to write today, is our introduction. Let me find my one about Dr. Seuss. Notes before I write my introduction, just to remind myself what I taught. So my notes about Dr. Seuss. His birth, March 2nd, 1904 in Springfield, Massachusetts. His nickname was Ted. He loved the zoo. He went there a lot. He liked to doodle and draw funny animals. Oxford University in England's where he went to school. He drew cartoons for other people. He married Helen Palmer. His first book was And to Think That I Saw It on Mulberry Street. He wrote easy-to-read books with rhyming words. The first one was Cat in the Hat. September 24th, 1991 is when he died. He wrote 44 children's books. He won a Pulitzer Prize for his books. His real name is Theodore Geisel, and he lived in a fire tower in La Jolla, California. So, our introduction, we're not really writing any of these facts yet. We are just going to tell the reader who we're writing about, right? Because you can't just start saying he was born. Who? Okay, we want to tell them. We want to draw them in. So do you remember whenever we were writing our reviews, we asked the question? Remember we said, do you like, let's see, I'm trying to remember, do you like Italian food? Or do you like playing games? We asked a question. So you can ask a question like that. So here's an example of one that someone else did. Man, I can't get myself. Here's one that someone did about Susan B. Anthony. They said, did you know that about 100 years ago, women in the United States were not allowed to vote? Susan B. Anthony thought this was wrong, and she worked her whole life to change the unfair laws. Read to find out more about this amazing woman changed voting in America. Or I have a few of you doing Amelia Earhart. You could say, did you know that at one time women did not fly airplanes? Okay. Or Walt Disney. You could ask a question like, do you like to draw? You could do that because Walt Disney liked to draw, right? Let's see. Wyatt, you did George Washington Carver. Okay, you could start with, do you like peanuts? Or you could start with, did you know that at one time black people did not go to school? Okay, or did not go to college, because he was one of the first black people to go to college, wasn't he? Wasn't that one of his things? Yep. Okay, so you can ask questions like that. I did Dr. Seuss, and one of the things that Dr. Seuss loved to do was to doodle. Okay, so I think that's going to be my first question. And today we're just going to write on plain paper. We're just going to work on our introductions on plain paper. So remember, we do this on our first drafts to remind ourselves this is a new paragraph. And I'm going to say, do you like to doodle and draw? Dr. Seuss did, and he turned his doodles into famous books. I am going to tell you all about him. That's my first paragraph. That's my introduction. It's only 3 sentences. It needs to be at least 3 sentences. You can ask more than one question if you want. But I only asked one. Do you like to doodle and draw? Dr. Seuss did, and he turned his doodles into famous books. I'm going to tell you all about him. 3 sentences. You have to have at least 3 sentences. First one is a question. The next one you talk about who it is that you're going to be talking about. And the third one is that you're telling the reader that you're going to tell him. You say, I am going to tell you all about him. Read this story and it will tell you more about him. Or He had a very interesting life, or something like that, okay? But 3 sentences. I'm going to leave these 2 up here. I do not want you to copy my sentences or their sentences, but these are just examples. She wrote 1, 2, 3. She wrote 3 sentences too. They were just really long sentences. So that's what you're going to do today, is you're going to write your introduction. If you haven't finished your notes, you're going to write your notes, work on your notes. And if you need to get your computer to get on a book about your person, then do that. Get on Epic and do that. So you're going to finish your notes. If I've met with you and I've given you your notes back today, so that was Xavier, Chase, Kate, Emma, Lily, Sadie, and Blaze, you can do this. Okay? Heather, Isaiah, and Wyatt, you could probably do this without your paper, don't you think? Can you do it without looking at your paper? Your introduction? No, you have to wait. Well, then if you have to wait, you can read to self while you're waiting.